Again, my friends, this is what we call the PMP exam reset. And every week we get together and we take a look at certain topics. So right here in the chat, we had our friend Rakesh type in a message about the procurement audit. So Rakesh, I'm not sure if you're still on, but I'm going to put this video up on the channel to answer your question. What exactly is the procurement audit? Now, to explain the procurement audit, I want to really rapidly cover what procurement is at a high level. So first of all, we've got planned procurement management. And this is where the buyer decides, do I want to buy something from outside? If so, which procurement types will I use? And then the buyer creates a procurement statement of work and procurement documents, RFBs, RFPs, RFQs, RFIs. Those are called bid documents. They get sent out to the potential sellers. The potential sellers may have questions. They get answered in a bidder conference. Now, just think about that for a second. This first part of procurement, it could go really well or it could go horrendously. And the question is, how well is our procurement being managed? The RFP process, the bid documents being sent out, the advertisement on radio or TV, the questions that people are asking being answered in a bidders conference. How did the bidders conference go? Did it go well? Was it unruly? Maybe you're doing this in the middle of a pandemic. Maybe you ask the question, how can we do this better? Right? And then we go into the proposal submission stage. And this is where the buyer is going to review the proposals. There will be a proposal evaluation. There could be negotiating back and forth. How well did the negotiating go? Did you do a good job in handling the negotiations? And ultimately, there's going to be a contract award. All of this stuff happens within the confines of conduct procurements. All right. The next stage, the final process, is control procurements. And in control procurements, a number of things could happen, all sorts, because this is where you are actually managing the contract. So the buyer needs to ensure that the seller is doing what they said. As you can see here on the screen, we've got claims administration that could be raised. So if for any reason the seller thinks the buyer has not held true to the contract, there could be claims. So there needs to be claims administration. There needs to be a process for changing any part of the contract. We call that a contract change control system. There's going to be performance reporting by the seller reporting on their performance. We're going to have procurement performance reviews, and then we're going to have inspections and audits. And these inspections and audits are of the work being done by the seller. Okay? Then to go a step further, still in control procurements, there's going to be, hopefully, the big old handshake at the end. But before then, this is what Rakesh was asking about. Procurement audits. What exactly are procurement audits? So we're going to take a quick look at that eventually. But just remember that you will need to settle any claims, store any records about this procurement, close out the procurement, and of course, you're going to update the organizational process assets. So the lessons learned repository, if that would be updated with procurement related information, and you make any other updates to OPAs. All right. But let's hone in to this topic of procurement audits. Procurement audits are simply an audit of the actual procurement process, not the project, but the process. In other words, how well did we handle our procurement management on this particular endeavor? And this is talked about in the PMBOK Guide 6th edition. If we go there really quick, if you've got your PMBOK Guide to hand, we're taking a look at this one, the 6th edition. And if you go on down to chapter 12, 12.3, you can get all this information. So I'm going to read this to you so that we can figure out what exactly they mean by these procurement audits. I'll go into tools and techniques. This is on page 498 of the 6th edition, and it reads, audits are described in section 8225. So audits are a structured review of something, right? It says, audits are a structured review of the procurement process. Rights and obligations related to audits should be described in the procurement contract. So everything regarding the procurement and anything could be audited. How well the procurement was handled, any step in the process at all, but the buyer needs to communicate to the seller if that concerns them or not. It says resulting audit observations should be brought to the attention of the buyer's project manager and the seller's project manager for adjustments to the project when necessary. So what you're doing is you're being proactive and finding out before the project ends, perhaps at certain key points in the project, how well is this procurement going? Is it going well? You know, if you've been in project management long enough, you know there are meetings where they call you into a boardroom. You're the seller. They want to have a meeting with you because things are not going well. You're either not meeting the objectives or there are concerns about one or two individuals, right? Team members that have done something bad on the project. If you've been in project management long enough, you know what those meetings are. They're not the kind of meeting you want to be in. But this could be a structured review of not just individuals on the project, but the entire procurement. How well you are performing, how well the procurement is being handled, how well the contract is being managed, both internal and external. How well is the buyer's project manager doing the procurement and managing the procurement, and how well is the seller's project manager managing the procurement? All right. A lot of teams, they actually don't get involved in procurement audits, but they should, because this is where you can stop bad performance, both from the buyer and the seller. You know, you got a buyer that treats the seller like dirt. That's just bad. That's awful. Talks down to the subcontractor, doesn't treat them well, and is late in payments, right? These are some of the things you should take a look at. Performance, relationships, and process, at least, in the standard audit, okay? So since we're talking so much about process today, I felt that what Rakesh asked was a very valid question that we should address, all right? This particular part of the video, it will be separate on the Praizion site, all right? So Rakesh, if you are listening to this after the fact, why don't you drop a comment and let us know if this answered the question that you had, okay? You take care, Rakesh. We're going to stop for now, and we're going to jump back into other training on the process for this week. Thank you very much, and let's get back into it.